It was a cool autumn evening in 1985 when James Thompson's life changed forever. He had just finished a shift at the local factory in the small town of Denton, Texas, when he was pulled over by two officers near his apartment complex. The air was thick with the smell of wet leaves and the distant hum of traffic. James, a quiet 27-year-old mechanic with no criminal record, was puzzled. The officers were polite, but their questions soon turned accusatory. They claimed he matched the description of a man seen leaving the scene of a brutal murder just hours earlier. The victim was Linda Harris, a 34-year-old schoolteacher who had been found dead in her home, stabbed multiple times. The police had no leads, no suspect, in a town on edge. James was simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. Within hours, he was arrested, charged with first-degree murder, and thrown into Denton County Jail. He couldn't believe what was happening. He was innocent, but the evidence, or lack thereof, seemed to paint a different picture. The courtroom was packed with a mix of curiosity and judgment when James's trial began. The prosecution painted a grim picture of a man with a troubled past, a factory worker who kept to himself and had no alibi for the night of the murder. His defense attorney, a young, overworked lawyer named Karen Matthews, struggled to put up a defense. She was new to criminal cases and had little time or resources to mount a proper challenge. As the trial unfolded, James's fate seemed sealed. A lone witness claimed to have seen a man with James's description leaving Linda's house that night, but the description was vague at best. There was no forensic evidence, no DNA linking James to the crime. Yet, the jury convicted him. The sentence was life in prison without the possibility of parole. For James, the weight of the conviction was more than just the years of imprisonment that lay ahead. It was the loss of his identity, the erosion of his dignity. He was an innocent man, trapped in a world that no longer believed him. Prison became James's reality. Days blurred into nights, and the world outside seemed to grow farther and farther away. Letters from his family became his lifeline. His mother, Sarah, refused to believe the accusations. She was convinced that James was innocent and spent every waking moment trying to find a way to clear his name. His younger sister, Lisa, visited as often as she could, her eyes filled with silent tears, the pain of seeing her brother behind bars eating away at her. But as the years passed, the letters became less frequent. James's life in prison was marked by isolation, doubt, and the constant threat of violence. Each day felt like a slow death, a punishment for a crime he didn't commit. James's family didn't give up. Sarah and Lisa continued to fight for justice, pushing for new evidence and looking for anyone who might listen. After years of rejections, Sarah stumbled upon an investigative journalist, Mark Reynolds, who had been covering wrongful convictions. Mark was intrigued by James's case and agreed to take a closer look. He uncovered several discrepancies in the original investigation. The prosecution had failed to disclose critical evidence that could have pointed to another suspect. There was also evidence that suggested the police had rushed to make an arrest, focusing on James without considering other leads. Mark's investigation began to unravel the truth, but it wasn't easy. He faced resistance from law enforcement and the legal system, unwilling to admit their mistakes. As Mark dug deeper, a small glimmer of hope appeared. He found a witness who had seen someone else near Linda's house the night of the murder. The witness, who had been too afraid to speak up earlier, finally came forward. This new witness provided a detailed description of a man who had been in the neighborhood, but it wasn't James. The breakthrough came when new forensic techniques, not available during the original investigation, allowed DNA testing on the knife used in the murder. The results were stunning. The DNA found on the weapon didn't match James's. It matched someone else, a local man with a criminal history who had never been investigated. The discovery of the new evidence was a turning point. James's conviction was overturned, and he was released from prison after 18 long years. The news spread quickly, and the town that had once judged him now faced the uncomfortable truth: they had been wrong. The emotional toll on James was profound. Years of his life had been stolen, and a man who had been convicted of a crime he didn't commit was now free. But freedom was bittersweet. The scars of his wrongful conviction remained. Trust in the system, once a cornerstone of his belief in justice, had been shattered. The pain of missing out on years with his family, of watching his mother grow older without him, and of the friendships that had withered in prison, was impossible to ignore. Karen Matthews, his former defense attorney, had moved on to bigger cases, but she reached out to him once the news broke. She apologized for her lack of experience, acknowledging that she had failed him. But James, though grateful, had a hard time forgiving the system that had failed him so many years ago. The real twist came when the man whose DNA was found on the murder weapon was arrested for a series of other crimes. His violent past had been hidden, and his connection to Linda Harris's murder was just the beginning of his criminal activities. In the end, it was revealed that the man had a history of violence, including assaults on other women, but had escaped justice due to his ability to manipulate the system. James's case was one of many, and his story became a catalyst for change. His fight for justice exposed deep flaws in the legal system, leading to calls for criminal justice reform. While James had been exonerated, the truth came at a steep price, not just for him, but for everyone affected by the miscarriage of justice. James Thompson's story became a rallying cry for the fight against wrongful convictions. His case led to changes in how the legal system handled evidence, witness testimony, and investigations. DNA testing, once a tool only for the guilty, became a lifeline for the innocent. Though James found solace in the truth, his emotional journey never fully healed. The years lost behind bars were years he could never get back. His family, who had fought tirelessly for his freedom, found a new purpose: to help others who had been wrongfully convicted and to ensure that what happened to James would never happen again. The real murderer, Thomas Waters, was brought to justice, but the damage had already been done. The town of Denton, once quick to judge James, now stood in shame. But the legacy of James's wrongful conviction was a powerful one, a reminder that the truth may be delayed, but it will always come to light, no matter how long it takes.